everyone, Mike Iaconelli back out here in the shop, and I've got a good one for you today. And in today's video, we're gonna be talking about my top four baits for the month of June. June's a good month because my birthday is June 17th. June is also a good month because the fish are active. Man, June is summertime. June is summertime. Summer is here. So depending on what part of the country you live in, it's getting warm or it's been warm, right? But it is definitely 100% summertime. Summertime patterns are really starting to kick in. So we've said goodbye to pre-spawn. We're saying goodbye almost across the board to the spawn. And now we're really, guys, we're in the summertime pattern. So post-spawn fish, if you live up north from central to south, the fish have been done. So we're talking about summertime fish, early summertime fish, right? Fish that are making that move out or under, right? So June's a great month because the fish are biting. The fish are getting more active. It's really a good time of the year. But I want to give you my top four baits, and I'm going to break them down into two parts. I'm going to give you two lures from, let's say, Virginia, Maryland, north, you know, the north half of the country. And then I'm going to give you two lures for south of Virginia, the southern part of the country, where it's really hot. It's been hot for a while. So here it goes, my top four baits for the month of June. I wanted to start out, let's start with the two for the north. And I want to start out with a small, soft plastic. You know, that's a real broad category, right? So you say a small, soft plastic in the month of June for up north. It really is the perfect bait. And it could be a little weightless wacky rig. It could be a small 4-inch drop shot. It could be a little tiny tube bait. There's a lot of little plastics for the month of June up north that are awesome. But I thought about it, and I want to give you this particular bait for the month of June. And it is the old Ned rig, the Ned rig, or just a little plastic on a jig head. It's a real generic way to talk about this bait. And the reason I went with a Ned in the month of June, especially for my guys up north, is that you're gonna have a mix of these late spawners, you know, actually maybe some spawners, right? If you're in places like New York, if you're in Canada, if you're in Maine, you're gonna see a lot of fish still on beds, smallmouth, largemouth, but you're gonna have a lot of fry garters. You're gonna have fish that are just off the beds, and then you're gonna have some females that are just, you know, in that recovery mode where they're ready to eat. And because of that, I think the Ned, out of all those small plastics, to me is the most versatile. And it's something that a bedfish will eat. It's something that if this comes past a fry garter, dude, they're gonna chew it. And it's also something that if you're dragging around like that first break, a big female that's recovering will hit, okay? So here's the deal with the Ned rig. Your favorite little Ned style jig head, I really like, people call them, they all just fell out, but people call them gopher heads or mushroom heads. And by the way, this is the Berkley. This is called the half head. And if you look at it, this mushroom gopher style is kind of like round, but it's blunt in the back. I like that because the plastic that you use for Ned rigging butts up to it really good, okay? The other thing I want in a Ned head is a 90-degree line tie straight up and down, and really good keeper system, because depending on these plastics, and some are Elastec, some are Max Scent, I want something that's going to hold it, okay? So for your favorite Ned head style jig, fish it in a light size. Go lighter than what you think you would need, okay? I hardly ever go above 1/8 of an ounce when I'm Ned rig fishing in June in the north. It's almost always a 32nd. A 16th is my favorite. Or if it's deep, you know, if I'm fishing real deep bedders, or real, you know, deep water, 1/8 ounce, right? So that's it. And so I basically want to thread this little plastic on this head. Before I get into that real quick, just wanted to show you my three favorite. Of course, Max Scent has a bait called a Lil General, which is basically like a soft stick bait that's kind of compact. Max Scent has a lot of scent. Berkley has a little power bait called a water bug. It's a small compact plastic, but it's got a little action tail. And listen, at the end of the day, use a 4-inch soft stick bait. and you could like bite it down an inch. It's perfect, right? So any of those types of small plastics, and when we thread it on that head, the bottom line, guys, is we just want to make sure it's nice and straight. So there's that Little General by Maxent, and it's got a fat end and a skinny end. I like to rig the fat end first, and I just want to make sure it's nice and straight. And when I push it up, that bait has no kinks, right? It has no kinks on it. It's just nice and straight. If you're using a bait that is dual colored, okay, so if you look at this one, this is called green pumpkin watermelon. I always want to put the darker side up and the lighter side down. And the reason for that, guys, so on this one, green pumpkin up, watermelon down. And the reason for that is natural forage has a lighter belly. That's just the way it is. That's nature. So lighter side down, nice and straight. And literally, guys, I'm going to fish this just slow and low. But a lot of bites come on the initial fall. So when I fire that out there to, where they're spawning or where I think they've moved to after the spawn, I'm letting it fall on a semi-slack line. And with that light head, it's a lot like a shaky head. Guys, the Ned's gonna kind of drift down. And that aimless drift, fry garters cannot stand it. They'll eat it. And then once it hits the bottom, I'm just slow and low. On the bottom, dragging it, giving it a pop or two. If I hit something, I'll slow down. If I see a bed, of course, I'll shake it in the bed. But great bait for the northern half of the country in the month of June is a Ned head. Let's keep going. Number 2 for my top 4 baits for the month of June, and this is for up north, birds are chirping. I gotta go with a topwater, guys. I gotta go with a topwater. Because when we talk about topwater time, it's the month of June because you got a lot of post spawners, early summer fish, and spawners will eat topwater, and then fall, right? Post spawn and fall are the top 2 times for topwater, so I got to include it in the month of June, especially up north. The nice thing about topwater baits is, you can work these baits and you can let them sit. So there's a lot of different topwaters. Like, if I'm trying to cover water a walking style, this is a jaywalker, is great. But I really wanted to focus in, guys, on these 2 types of topwaters for the month of June, especially up north, down south too, is popper style topwaters. And the reason I like that is of all the topwaters, you can fish these the slowest and leave them in place, okay? So, this is the Bullpop, Berkley Bullpop 70, and a lot of color options are out there. You should always match your forage. But think about this, guys, for the month of June. You ready? Lots of bluegill, brim, warmouth, shellcracker, red ear, panfish. Lots of panfish spawning in the month of June. So when you pop this around those shallow flats in the month of June, especially up north, it looks like a little bluegill, right? So a bedding fish will come up and eat it. A fry garter will come up and eat it. And fish that are done spawning in the month of June that have switched their diet to bluegills, because now the bluegills spawning will eat it. So a regular popper, treble hook version, when I can fish that open water in the month of June. But a lot of places we're going to go in the month of June, dude, it's already covered with grass. My lake in June looks like a swamp. Vegetation, reeds, lily pads, hydrilla. Or if you're fishing in real thick wood cover or under docks, that's impossible. Treble hook. So all I do in the month of June, guys, is I switch to a frog popper. This is the Molix Pop Frog. It's an amazing frog. Bluegill color, straight black, straight white. This is actually a leopard frog that has a white belly. And same concept, guys. I can pop it around spawning fish, they'll eat it. Pop it around fry garters, they'll eat it. Pop it around bluegill beds in a black or a bluegill pattern, they'll eat it. And I can leave it in place. Pop, let it sit, let the legs expand, let the mylar expand, right? So number 2 for the month of June, topwater, but in particular, a popper, okay? All right, let's go to number 3. Number 3, and now we're gonna go to my next 2 for more of the southern part of the country. Now we're talking about, Virginia South, the Carolinas, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Florida, California. June is definitely post-spawn in those parts of the country. And it's definitely early summer pattern. These are fish that have finished spawning. And think about it. Fish that are in the summertime pattern, it's thicker, it's current, and it's deeper. And that deeper is a big thing for me in the month of June when I'm down south. And because of that, I'm fishing my ledges. I'm fishing my creek channel bends. I'm fishing my main lake points that stick out in the main lake. That's where those post-spawn fish have moved. And I really like, here's my depth zone, guys. If you're in the south and you're listening to this and you're saying, yeah, deep water fish, yeah, but what do you mean? I really like that. Call it 10 to 16, 18 foot zone, right? 12 to 15 foot, 10 to 15 foot. Boy, that's the zone for the month of June. And because of that, there's no better time than cranking those ledges, cranking those points, cranking that channel bend where those fish have moved to. I love it. A crankbait that runs about 10 to 15 feet is what you want. This is the Berkley dime. We've got a dime 10. We've got a dime 15. I grabbed two of my favorite colors in the world, by the way. We got citrus shad and we got blue and chartreuse. If you've ever watched me throw a crankbait in tournaments or whatever, you see me with those a lot. It's just a good, the citrus shad is a good shad pattern. The chartreuse blue is a good bluegill pattern or perch pattern. So you combine those two, you got two of the best colors. But here's the deal, guys, 10 to 15 foot crankbait. I just grabbed this red one because it was laying here. But the key to that dime or the key to a deep diving crankbait when you're fishing those ledges is to get that thing to deflect off the bottom, right? And like 90% of the bites come when I throw that crankbait out on that point. My boat's in like 18 feet, but I'm casting up to 10, and I want this thing banging as it comes down that point or that ledge, right? It's just banging the bottom. And a lot of times in June, when you can find an isolated piece of cover, little hard spot, a little bit of shell, a stump, a piece of brush, obviously a clump of grass, isolated. Dude, you can catch multiple fish in the month of June. I can't tell you how many times I'm fishing a 10 to 15 foot crankbait like this dime, and I'm going along a point, nothing. I'm feeling it bump. Then all of a sudden I hit something really hard, and I hit it, and my rod loads up, and as I'm reeling that fish in, I look down, and there's like 4, 5, 6 fish with them. Guys, very typical for the month of June in the south is fish that group up on those deeper areas, right? I'm not talking 20, 40 feet yet. That's gonna be July, August. I'm talking 10, 15, 16, points, ledges, creek bends, bump the bottom, okay? So crankbait, number 3. And last but not least, this is sort of starting to sound like a broken record, because if you watch these videos, you hear soft stick bait a lot and you hear jig a lot. I gotta keep saying it because listen, in the south, in the month of June, when fish come off the beds and they're heading out deeper, thicker, or current, for those deeper fish, dude, drag a football jig on those same places you fished that crankbait, right? So for the guys that have lakes and reservoirs and stuff and rivers that have those deeper areas that have a hard bottom, I don't think you can beat a football jig. It covers a lot of water, goes through the rock. Like, look at that head. So this is a missile football head that we call a headbanger, but the shape of that head looks like a football. It's got real broad shoulders. I can drag this through rock and gravel and shell and isolated wood and brush, and it will come through, okay? I do a lot of dragging with that football jig in the month of June in those same places we talked about with the crankbait. I like 1/2 ounce and I like 3/4 ounce for the month of June, right? As we start to get into July and August, you're gonna hear me talk about a 1 ounce. But again, 10, 15, 16 foot, no deeper than 18, right? 10 to 15 foot is my zone. So a 1/2 or a 3/4 ounce football. A lot of trailers can work. Chigger crawl, of course, is an all-time favorite. Pit boss is an all-time favorite. But this has become a new all-time favorite for me on a football jig in the month of June, on a jig in the month of June, is a Shape 108. And Shape 108 by Berkley, it's a power bait. It's just a crawl that has 2 nice flappers. So even if I'm crawling this football jig, it still continues to have a lot of great movement, okay? But let me throw in this real quick. For the guys, if you're watching this and you're saying, yeah, but I live in Florida, and in June in Florida, we have deep water, but it's loaded with hydrilla. It's matted with milfoil. Or, something like that. It's more grassy. The only thing I do, same concept, guys. I'll change the football head out for just a regular, more pointy head style jig. And I'll start flipping and pitching, punching. You heard me talk about summertime pattern, thicker, deeper current. This is the thicker one. This is a missile flip out. It's got more of that rounded head. It's a great heavy cover jig. So thick grass, thick wood, still put the 108 on the back or a pit boss on the back, and I'm still fishing it deep toward the bottom. I wanted to get under that mat. So if you're in Florida and watching this and like, I don't have ledges, big jig, right? 1/2 ounce. This is the 3/4 ounce. The nice thing about 3/4 is it gets down quick. It punches through the mat. So don't fret. Big jig works for you too. All right, there you have it, guys. My top 4 baits for the month of June: little plastic, a Ned rig, a topwater, a popper, a deep diving crankbait, getting it at 10 to 15, 16 foot range. And last but not least, a big jig. Drag a jig around in that deeper water. Month of June is awesome. It's one of my favorite months, and the fish are biting. I hope you like this video. Listen to me real quick, stop! Hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to the channel. If you do that, we'll send you a notification. We're dropping new content every week. If you're already subscribed, you gotta tell your friends. If you're sitting at the bar and you meet somebody, they fish, tell them about my channel. It's Mike Iaconelli Fishing on YouTube. I hope you like what you're seeing. Try those lures in June, and you're gonna get your arm ripped off. Bye, guys. Hey everybody, Mike Iaconelli out in the shop. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, you have to check out that one, and I hope you like them.